Rev up your engines! Hyundai is a big Korean manufacturing company. A while back, they bought 51% of Kia. So they own Kia. Now it's like 38%. They traded some back and forth. They got all kinds of weird tentacle deals going on. It's a Korean car manufacturer that for quite some time now also builds cars in the United States, in Alabama. The ones they built in Alabama, a lot of engine problems with them. They blamed it on a bad machine that was making stuff so the timing chains would come apart, metal would get in the engine, and they said they fixed it, but if you check lately, a lot of the late models have been recalled for engine problems. You gotta be a bit leery if you're gonna buy one of these. But this is a 2009. Check it out when we open the door. This one was made in Korea. These are the best ones, just like Toyotas and Hondas. Really? The best ones are made in Japan. The best Hyundais are made in Korea. That's just the way that it goes. Now this particular one, he bought it from his mother, and you can see it's from New York State. So of course, you're gonna see rust in places from the salt on the road. He bought it used 8 years ago. It didn't have that rust on them, but you drive around New York State with all that salt in the road in the winter to keep the ice from forming, you're gonna get rust on a car, especially a Hyundai. So let's look under. Now see, you can tell this is a New York State car. See all that rust? Well, that's solid metal. That's not a problem yet. That's really thick. It's not like it's gonna fall apart any second. As you can see, when I knock on it, still solid metal. But with aluminized muffler, you can see here, still got the original muffler on it. And yes, this bash came later. You can't blame the car on that. The paint itself is metallic and it's still holding up pretty good. Now, a long, long time ago when his mother owned the car, obviously it was in some kind of wreck. That headlight's shiny and this one's frosted over. So that probably even explains why this is rusty, because they did a crappy job fixing the hood and then it rusted through. But the car still is structurally sound. And under the hood, we got a 4-cylinder engine. But aha, it's not the original one. Talk about a yellow paint. This is a used engine from a salvage yard. Now, I can't blame this on the Hyundai engineering, because here's what happened. You can still blame it on Hyundai. You get your time for an oil change light come on, right? Well, that system broke on his car. So he was going by it and didn't change the oil because he didn't tell it was time, and the engine blew. So he had to put a used engine in it. So he had to throw a couple of grand putting a used engine in. He didn't do it. He paid somebody to do it. And it runs perfectly fine now. So there's a lesson to be learned here. One, never trust those stupid time for an oil change. I've seen them where they tell the people they got to change their oil a couple weeks after they just changed it. And I've seen them like his. They never tell you to change it and you end up ruining your engine because you think, well, it's not time to change it yet. Do it by mileage. I believe about every 5,000 miles you got good synthetic oil in it. I would change it every 5. It's cheap, right? It's a good lesson to be learned. And the other lesson is this. Hyundai engines are relatively weak. You really have to take care of them. Now, this was one that was made in Korea. It wasn't made in Alabama. It didn't have the problems that the Alabama did with metal getting in the engine from parts breaking because they weren't made right. It's not one of those engines. But they are relatively weak engines. When we go inside, we can see got 170,399 miles. So he's put about 80,000 miles on it since he bought it. And if he would have known about the oil needing changing, it'd probably still have the original engine. But considering this is his first car, we can forgive him, and he's still driving his first car all those years later. Let's see how it starts up. Starts right up, idle's pretty good. We'll check the AC, and when we do check the AC, look, he's got it partly on heat. It works so good he got too cold. Nothing's too cold for me when it's this hot out in July. So I'll turn on full blast. Now it does have the TPMS light on. So odds are one or more of the tire pressure sensors in the car have gone bad. Realize these stupid systems inside the tire stem, there's a broadcast unit that has a battery that sends the pressure to the computer in the car. Okay, and by car ages, this thing's 13 years old. The batteries just wear out. You got to take the tire apart, replace the sensor. It costs a lot of money. Tire gauges are cheap. Just get yourself a tire gauge. That's no reason not to buy a car. So let's scan it to see what kind of shape it's in. So we got my new tool out. We're going to plug it in. Same as any, just plug it into the data port. Plug it in, it's green now. And we'll see how fast it works. There's auto search and the roulette wheel's off. Now it's done updating. These things update quite a bit. Okay, select make, Hyundai. All right. We gotta say it's a Touring because it's a Touring. It knows there's a difference. That's where these high-level scanners work better. You're not just getting a generic. This knows it's a Touring, so you push Touring. Now here we go. It's got a code for the catalytic system below threshold. Well, that's typical. It means that the catalytic converter is working at less than 95% efficiency. It's typical. It happens as they age, especially. This is on its second engine. So the first engine probably burned some oil. The oil burning clogs up the catalytic converter. But it runs okay, so if you don't live in an area that does emissions testing, that's okay. And if you do, you can try some of that lacquer thinner treatment in the gas tank. And a lot of times that'll make it run clean enough. Sometimes even as dumb as putting a tank of Shell V super high test gasoline will make it burn cleaner and the light will go off. Right, and it's got 4 electronic stability controls. And it has to do with the steering angle sensor isn't calibrated, the battery voltage is low, and the wheel speed sensor, rear, left hand, invalid, no signal. If you notice, those are all C codes, C or communication codes. You can often ignore them. Hey, the car runs, it stops. Now, the wheel speed sensor, I knew there had to be some kind of problem with some of the stuff because the tire pressure monitoring system isn't working either, and those are kind of tied in with it. So, yeah, you don't really worry about it, one of these. So let's scroll up here. The airbag system. Problem with the airbag system, driver communication error. That's a good one. Battery voltage low, again, sensor defect. So in this case, even the lamp isn't telling you that the airbag isn't working. So you're probably going to think it's going to work. Well, it's not going to work in this car. So really buckle up. Seatbelt works perfectly fine if you buckle them up. So unless you're a fanatic about airbags, you're not going to care about these either. If you are, you're going to spend a lot of money fixing it. I can guarantee you that. Further down the line, electronic power steering. C1102, battery voltage low. That is a communication failure. Car steers perfectly fine. When you get even a weak battery or a weak alternator, you're going to trip a bunch of communication codes because they don't have enough power, so they don't get big enough signal, and they think, oh, there's something wrong with that signal, and they'll flash that on a computer like this. You're not going to see that in a normal communication, but those are communication codes that a high-level scanner like this does really good at getting into. We go with the tire pressure monitoring system. Well, it's got 6 codes. It can't learn how to do, well, that's because it's not working. Then it says, channel sensor 1, the frequency failed. 2, frequency failed. Sensor 3, the battery voltage is low. The ECU voltage is low. And the radio frequency on 3 is low. That failed. So 3 of the 4 sensors don't work. You really want to spend a bunch of money replacing them all? Nah. Now again, it had that communication voltage low. Could be as simple as the battery was a little bit low. You don't worry about that as long as it runs. Don't expect your tire pressure monitoring system to work on a 13-year-old Hyundai. They just break down because the batteries go bad. All the other systems, green, 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 they're all perfectly fine. And I know the car's perfectly drivable, so I'm going to check out live data too. We'll start it up. Let's look at live data. Here we go. We'll select them all. Battery voltage. It's a little low, but it's idling low. I'll rev it up a little. It's working perfectly fine. Gives you the oil temperature. No misfire. The injector on time is 2.46 for them all so far. All of them are the same. Car runs fine. No misfires. And they're all getting exactly the same firing on the injectors. And that kind of says something. This car's 13 years old, and the fuel injection system is still operating perfectly. 2.46 milliseconds on each one at idle. Normally you'll see a little bit off, 2.48 or 2.52. This is spot on, so this car's in actually excellent shape. Look at the long-term fuel trim. It's almost perfect. This is 0%, and at idle it's only minus 0.05. It won't trip a code till it's like 20% off. It's almost perfect. So let's take it for a spin. It handles good. You want to take a corner. You're going to hear some noises because it came from New York State. And guess what? The bushings are all on rusted steel. And what does rusted steel do? It creaks when you're going down the road when it rubs on old pieces of rubber. You're going down the road out in the country, you know, it rides pretty well. Now, of course, this is not a race car. So we're going to find out what kind of acceleration it really has. Here we go, our little drag strip. You can see somebody's been going fast here recently. Let's see, your mark, get set, go. All right. The tranny still shifts really smooth at a high RPM like that in a vehicle this old. It doesn't get there instantly, but let's say you're going 60. Floor, you know, it takes a little while to get moving, but you can pass people on the road with it. It's not horrendous. It's running fine. Yeah, it's got 177,000 miles on it. Still runs perfectly good. It has all those codes for communication and stuff. You live with that with any car as they age, as long as it doesn't affect the car's running. And really, I trust the seatbelt. It clicks in. It's solid. I don't trust airbags in any 13-year-old car. It's an explosive device. It blows a bag up that's supposed to save you. Who's to say it's been sitting there for 13 years it's going to work right? Can't test them. Once you blow them off, that's it. They're gone. So that I don't care. I make sure it's buckled up. This one probably would not inflate. It's not like it's going to blow up in your face. The thing is, it probably won't work at all. So use your seatbelts in a car like this. So there you have it, 177,000 mile high mileage Hyundai. Now, do realize it was one made in Korea. It wasn't one made in Alabama where they had the engine problems. Did have to have the engine replaced. That's because the check oil. Replace your oil light never came on. So that's their fault for not designing that right. But just change your oil every 5,000 miles or so and you won't have to worry about that. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.